The stars above Earth shimmered like tiny lights in the night sky. People were used to looking at them, dreaming of what was out there. Some believed in aliens, some didn't, but everything changed the night. A strange light appeared in the sky, bigger and brighter than anything anyone had ever seen. It wasn't a star. It wasn't a plane or a satellite. It was a ship so huge that it covered the moon's light. People stared up in fear. For the first time, the world felt small. The alien ship didn't fire any weapons. It didn't destroy any cities. It just floated above Earth, watching. Then a voice came through every device. Phones, TVs, radios, and speakers. It was clear and deep. It spoke English, French, Chinese, and many other languages, all at once. But the message was the same everywhere. Greetings, people of Earth. I am Syrian, High Commander of the Dravok Empire. I come in peace and disappointment. His voice was calm, but full of pride. He laughed lightly. I have seen your military. I have studied your wars. I expected more. Then the screen showed images of Earth's armies, jets, tanks, missiles, and nuclear bombs. He laughed again. This is your strength. This is your power. How sad. World leaders gathered quickly. The United Nations held an emergency meeting. No one knew if he was planning an attack. But instead of launching weapons, Syrian sent down a small ship, a scout craft, into a desert area far from any city. Cameras from satellites tracked it. It landed softly, without a sound. The world held its breath. A team of elite soldiers was sent to the location. They were the best from different countries. Each carried the latest weapons. Drones flew overhead. Tanks were hidden nearby. Everyone expected danger. But when the ramp of the small alien ship opened, only one figure walked out. Syrian was tall and strong, his body covered in smooth, dark armor that shimmered like metal but moved like skin. His eyes glowed faint blue. He walked with no fear, standing calmly in the center of the desert. The soldiers surrounded him. One of the commanders stepped forward and shouted, "This is a military operation. You are under arrest for illegal entry." Syrian looked around, then laughed. "Is this your military power?" he said with a grin. He raised one hand, and suddenly, every weapon in the soldiers' hands dropped to the ground. The guns were too heavy to lift. Their tanks stopped working. The drones crashed one by one. The soldiers looked confused and scared. Syrian smiled, stepping closer. "I expected a challenge, but this is nothing. You have no defense against me. I am not here to fight. I am here to test, and to teach you how weak you really are." News spread fast. All across the world, people watched live as Syrian walked past helpless soldiers and sat on a rock in the desert like it was a throne. Cameras flew around him. Reporters tried to ask questions, but he only looked at them with amusement. He spoke again, this time directly to the world. "Your species has grown proud. You think because you have rockets and satellites, you are powerful. But in the galaxy, you are nothing. You fight each other. You poison your own air and water. Your weapons are old. Your minds are slow. You should be thankful I came first. Others would have destroyed you without warning." In secret, the governments of Earth prepared backup plans. Missiles were aimed at Syrian's location. Special energy weapons were being tested. But when they tried to lock onto him, the systems failed. He wasn't just strong, he was prepared. Every time Earth tried to resist, something went wrong. Systems shut down. Power grids failed. Airplanes lost control near the area. It was like he was untouchable. Still, people hoped it was all just a show. Maybe he wasn't that powerful. Maybe it was tricks. But those hopes faded when he lifted a tank into the air with one hand and crushed it like it was paper. He smiled while doing it, like it was nothing. "Do you see now?" he asked the cameras. "You are insects to me, and still I choose not to crush you." That is mercy. Remember it. As the sun went down, Sirian built a small structure from the desert rocks. It looked simple, but cameras showed strange lights glowing inside. Some scientists said it was an energy field. Others thought it was a mind control device. But nobody dared get close. Inside his small stone shelter, Sirian looked at a device on his wrist. It showed Earth's map. He zoomed in and out, checking the land, the oceans, the cities. He seemed to be searching for something. But suddenly, the screen glitched. He tapped it. The map flashed, then turned black. He frowned. Outside, the desert wind picked up. The sand moved quickly, forming strange patterns. It didn't feel like a normal wind. The soldiers watching from a distance felt uneasy. One of them, a young officer, said, "It's like the ground is breathing." That night, Sirian tried to sleep, but he felt something strange. The air was heavier. The ground under him pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. He stood up, walked outside, and looked around. The desert was quiet, too quiet. No animals, no birds, just silence and wind. Then, for a second, he saw something strange. The sand rose in the shape of a face, a huge face made of dust. Its eyes looked at him. Then the shape fell apart, and it was just sand again. Sirian stared at the spot. He scanned it with his device. Nothing. Just particles. But he had seen something. And he felt something too. For the first time since landing, he didn't feel alone. Far away, in a small village near the mountains, an old woman named Amara sat by a fire. She was quiet, staring into the flames. Her granddaughter brought her some tea, but she didn't touch it. She looked to the sky and whispered. The stories were true. Her granddaughter sat beside her. "What stories, Grandma?" Amara's eyes didn't blink. That the earth is alive. And when it is mocked, it remembers. The girl didn't understand, but Amara just smiled a little. He shouldn't have come here. Not like this. Not with pride and laughter. The planet listens. And now, it's awake. Back in the desert, Sirian stood still for hours. He no longer looked amused. His device was still not working. Strange heat came from the ground. Shadows moved, even when there was no light. And that feeling of being watched wouldn't go away. He looked up at the stars. Something is wrong, he whispered to himself. He had come to show power, to make Earth feel weak. But now, something deeper, something older, was showing him that he had made a mistake. And the night was only beginning. Sirian stood in the middle of the dark desert, his eyes glowing slightly in the night. The sand was quiet again, but something about it still felt wrong. He had traveled to many planets, conquered many worlds, but he had never felt a presence like this before. Earth was not just reacting, it was aware of him. He tapped the screen on his wrist again, but the device didn't respond. The map was gone. His signal to the mothership wasn't working. It was like something was jamming all communication. That should not have been possible. No Earth technology was strong enough to block him. He looked around. The silence in the desert now felt heavy, almost alive. In the cities far from the desert, life was not normal either. People had seen Sirian crush tanks, stop missiles, and mock entire armies. Fear spread quickly. Some ran to shelters. Others stayed glued to their screens. But one thing was clear. He was not just another visitor. He had come to prove Earth was weak. But Earth had started to respond. In different parts of the world, strange things began to happen. Birds flew in wide circles for hours. Trees swayed even when there was no wind. In a jungle in South America, old vines that had never moved before suddenly curled like snakes. A team of scientists studying weather noticed odd patterns in the clouds, like they were forming symbols. A child in India drew a picture of a giant made of stone and fire, even though she had never seen anything like it before. People felt it. They didn't know what, but deep inside, something had changed. Back in the mountain village, Amara sat outside her home. The stars were clear above, but she looked at the ground. Her hands touched the soil gently, as if feeling for a pulse. Her granddaughter asked again, "Grandma, why are you scared of the earth?" Amara smiled. "I'm not scared of the earth. I'm scared for the man who thinks he can control it." "But he's strong," the girl said. "He stopped tanks with his hands." Amara nodded slowly. "Yes, but Earth is not made of metal and machines. It's made of memory and pain. It has been quiet for many years, too quiet. But now someone has poked it with fire." That night, Syrian began walking. He didn't want to admit it, but he was feeling uneasy. He moved across the sand, scanning everything. But the sand under his feet was no longer still. It shifted in small waves, like it was breathing. Then he saw something he didn't expect. Plants. Tiny green plants pushing through the dry sand. He bent down to touch one. As soon as he did, the plant wrapped around his finger and burned him. He pulled back, shocked. It was just a weed. It should not have done that. He scanned it. The data made no sense. The plant had no root, no system, no life pattern he could understand. It had just appeared and reacted. Syrian looked up. The desert around him had changed. It was still dark, but now there were shapes in the sand. Circles, patterns, symbols, old ones. He tried to walk away, but no matter where he stepped, the ground beneath him showed more shapes. He shouted into the sky, "What is this? Who dares interfere with my mission?" But no answer came, only the wind, and then a whisper. It wasn't loud, it wasn't clear, but it was there, a voice deep and old, like rock grinding on rock. It said only one thing: "You were warned." Syrian turned quickly, scanning the area. Nothing. He called for his scout craft. It didn't answer. He tried to lift off using his suit's flight system. It failed. He wasn't just being blocked. He was being trapped. In the military command center, Earth's leaders argued. Some wanted to launch nukes. Others said it was too dangerous. Nothing had worked so far. A scientist, Dr. Lena Rowe, stepped forward with a strange report. "We picked up energy waves from deep inside the Earth," she said. "Not natural, not human-made. It's like the planet is sending signals." A general laughed. "What? The Earth is fighting back now?" Dr. Rowe didn't smile. "Yes," she said. "I think it is." Syrian kept moving, trying to find a way to reach the sky again. But the more he moved, the more the land pushed back. Trees started growing where there had been none. Rocks rose from the ground, forming strange arches. A small hill in the distance suddenly opened like a mouth, and a loud, deep sound came from within. It wasn't a roar. It was something more terrible. A warning. Syrian backed away. "This planet is cursed," he said quietly, "or protected." He turned to his left and saw a wall of sand rise in the air, shaped like a giant hand. It didn't strike him. It just hovered, watching. He had come to show Earth how small it was. Now it was Earth showing him how small he was. In the village, Amara stood up. Her eyes were full of light. Her granddaughter gasped, "Grandma, your hands." Amara's fingers glowed faintly, the same blue light that flowed through the floating rocks in the desert. She closed her eyes and whispered words in an old language, passed down from her ancestors. The Earth was listening, and she was listening back. All across the world, people began to dream of ancient places, deep forests, high mountains, dark oceans. In those dreams, they saw eyes. Big, glowing, slow-moving eyes. The Earth was not a dead rock. It was alive. It had always been alive. But now it was awake. Back in the desert, Syrian finally stopped moving. He was breathing hard, even though he didn't need air like humans did. The energy in his body felt weaker. He looked at the ground, then at the sky. "This is not over," he said. But the ground under his feet answered with a soft shake. Not an earthquake, not destruction, just a warning. Sirian didn't know what was happening, but one thing was now clear to him. He was not in control anymore. Something older, something greater, had taken notice, and it had just begun to rise. Sirian stood still in the middle of the strange desert, surrounded by rising sand and growing shades. His armor, once shining with power, now felt heavy. His systems were still failing. His scanner was full of errors. For the first time, he couldn't understand what was happening. And worse, he couldn't stop it. He looked around. The desert he landed in had changed. It was no longer just sand and rock. Green plants had started to grow fast, too fast. In one night, the dry land had become strange and alive. Vines crawled over stones. Flowers opened, glowing with soft, pulsing light. Shapes moved in the distance, shapes too big to be animals and too quiet to be machines. Sirian raised his hand and sent a command through his suit to call for a rescue ship from orbit. The screen blinked red. Connection failed. Signal blocked. He frowned. This planet was weak, he said to himself. It had no real weapons, no real defense. And yet, it fights back with the land itself. He looked down at the sand. It moved again, gently, like water. Then, in front of him, the ground opened slowly. A smooth stone rose out of the earth. Symbols covered it, symbols he didn't recognize. He stepped forward to scan it, but the scanner exploded in his hand. He jumped back. The stone glowed for a moment. Then it began to speak, not with sound, but inside his head. A voice, deep, cold, ancient. You came with pride. You mocked us. You laughed. Now you will listen. Sirian shook his head. Who are you? The voice answered slowly. We are what was before. We are the memory of pain. We are the voice of this world. And we do not forget. Sirian tried to back away, but the sand behind him rose like a wall. He was trapped. The sky above darkened, even though it was still daytime. Black clouds spun slowly overhead. Thunder rumbled, but no lightning came. Just sound. Deep, powerful sound. Far away, scientists were watching all of this through special satellites. Dr. Lena Rose stared at the screen, her hands shaking. The desert has changed shape again, she said. It's forming something. Look. The image showed a circle in the sand, huge, miles wide. Inside the circle were shapes, spirals, lines, symbols. Those are not natural, said another scientist. That's writing. Like a message. But for who? Lena asked. Not us, someone whispered. For him. In the desert, Sirian stood in the middle of the circle. The voice in his head was louder now. You are not the first to come here. Long before your ships, others tried to take this world. They are gone now, turned to dust, swallowed by the roots, burned in the mountains, buried in the ocean. Earth remembers. Sirian's heart, if it could be called that, beat faster. He looked up. I came to test your strength. I came to teach you how weak you are. The voice replied, colder than before. And you have learned instead. The ground under his feet turned soft. His legs sank slightly, like he was standing on wet earth. He jumped back. His boots were covered in thick, black mud. It smelled old, like something dead. He wiped it off. But it came back, rising again. The mud crawled up his legs like fingers. He activated his shield. A blue light flashed around him, pushing the mud back, but only for a second. Then the light flickered and died. His shield was gone. In the mountain village, Amara sat with her eyes closed. Her granddaughter held her hand tightly. Grandma, the sky is wrong. It's turning black. Amara nodded. It's not the sky, child. It's the earth. It's warning the stars. The stars. Yes, Amara whispered. It's telling the galaxy, do not come here with war. Do not bring pride. This planet remembers. Xerion fell to one knee. The ground beneath him was burning, not with fire, but with memory. He saw images flash through his mind. Giant beasts walking through forests, oceans swallowing cities, storms breaking the sky. None of it was from his time. None of it was from now. It was the Earth's past, its pain, its history. He gasped. His breathing was shallow. "What are you?" The voice answered slowly. "We are Earth, and you are unwelcome." Suddenly, the sand behind him exploded. A large shape rose from the ground. It looked like a human made of stone, over 10 meters tall, glowing from inside with red light. Its eyes burned like fire. It took one step forward, and the ground shook. Xerion raised his arm, fired his strongest energy beam. The light hit the stone giant in the chest, and did nothing. The giant didn't stop. It raised one massive hand and slammed it down near Xerion. The shockwave threw him across the sand. He rolled, his armor cracked. His vision blurred. He tried to stand but couldn't. The stone giant stopped just in front of him, then knelt down slowly. A deep voice came, not from the giant, but through it. "You came to test this world. Now this world tests you." Xerion coughed, green blood leaking from his mouth. He had never been beaten like this. Never. "Why?" he whispered. "I didn't attack. I didn't kill anyone." The voice replied, "You came with mockery, with pride. That is enough. You disturbed the deep places. You woke what sleeps. Now, you must answer." The stone giant reached out. Its hand moved toward Xerion's chest. But just before it touched him, the ground beneath him opened. He fell. He didn't fall through space. He didn't fall through rock. He fell through time. Memories that weren't his filled his head. Fire, ice, war, peace. All of Earth's history poured into him in one painful second. He screamed. His mind couldn't hold it all. Then, silence. He landed hard, face first in the middle of a dark cave. He looked up, shaking. All around him, glowing eyes stared from the shadows. Not animals, not people. Guardians. Shapes made of root, stone, wind, and fire. Each one different. Each one older than memory. One stepped forward. A voice spoke again. "You have seen our truth. Now choose. Leave, or become part of the Earth." Xerion was too weak to argue. He nodded slowly. In the sky above, his mothership finally received a signal. From Earth. A simple message. "Come get him. He is broken." Xerion lay on the cold ground, his body broken and bruised. His once pristine armor was cracked, sparks of electricity flickering weakly. He had never known defeat like this. Earth, this planet, so small, so primitive by his standards, had brought him to his knees. The glowing eyes of the stone guardians surrounded him, watching, waiting. His heart, if it could still be called that, thudded painfully in his chest. He had never felt so helpless. "Leave," the voice had said, "or become part of the Earth." What did it mean? Xerion didn't have the strength to ask. The memories of Earth's past, its pain, its wars, and its destruction still filled his mind. Every second, he relived the earth-shattering events. The volcanoes, the storms, the wars long before his time. It was overwhelming. How could a planet, something so simple, carry so much power? He tried to move, but his body refused. The guardians moved closer, their massive stone limbs creaking, each one pulsing with a strange ancient energy. They were not just guardians. They were protectors of the Earth's soul, of its very essence. The air around him felt heavy, thick with power. Earth was alive. Not just in the way the animals and plants were alive, but in a way that defied everything Xerion had known about the universe. It wasn't just a planet. It was something more. And now it was asking him to leave. He opened his mouth to speak, but only a weak cough came out. His body was exhausted, drained of all energy. His systems had shut down one by one. His suit, once a powerful tool, was now just dead weight on his chest. In the distance, his mothership hovered above, waiting for a signal to come down. The crew, unaware of what had truly happened to their leader, prepared for the rescue. But Xirian knew that no ship, no weapon, no technology could save him now. The Earth had already decided his fate. The stone guardians stood still, their massive eyes glowing like twin suns. They were not attacking. They were waiting for something. For him to make a choice. Leave or stay. Xirian thought of the proud speeches he had given before landing here, of how he had mocked Earth's military strength, its weak attempts at defense, how he had laughed at the primitive ways of its people. Now, all of that seemed foolish. Earth had shown him a power far beyond anything he had ever imagined. Was it too late to apologize? Could he even apologize to a planet? His mind flashed back to the time when he first landed on Earth. He had laughed at the small, pathetic armies of the humans, thinking that their weapons, their technology, their puny shields would never be able to stop him. He had thought himself untouchable. Now, he was a broken shell of his former self, lying in the dust, at the mercy of a planet that had been patient for too long. He realized that Earth didn't need weapons or armies to defeat him. It had something much older, something far more powerful. As he lay there, the memories of Earth's history flooded his mind again. He saw wars fought with fire and blood. He saw the rise and fall of great civilizations, each one leaving its mark on the land. The Earth had seen it all. Conquerors, invaders, destroyers. It had survived it all. And in the end, it had learned how to protect itself. He closed his eyes, letting the darkness take him. The guardians stood over him, silent, waiting for him to make a decision. The ground beneath him suddenly trembled. The air shifted, charged with energy. It was as if the planet itself had just taken a deep breath. Xirian felt something stir deep within him, a small, weak pulse of power. It was the last of his strength. He raised his hand toward the stone giant closest to him. His voice was barely a whisper. "Please," he said, his words heavy with defeat. "I didn't understand." The guardian said nothing, but the air around him seemed to soften. The crushing weight of the Earth's presence faded just slightly. He slowly got to his knees, his body shaking with exhaustion. The ground beneath him began to shift again, but this time it wasn't hostile. It was calm. The stone guardians took a step back, watching him carefully. In the sky above, the mothership waited. Its engines hummed softly, ready to descend at any moment. But Xirian knew that there was no point. He didn't need them anymore. Xirian took a deep breath, closing his eyes. The planet had shown him its power. Now, it was his turn to accept it. He no longer needed to fight. He needed to understand. He stood weakly, his legs wobbling beneath him. He could feel the Earth's energy flowing through him, filling him, making him stronger. It wasn't just the power of the land beneath him. It was the power of all the memories, the generations of life, growth, death, and rebirth. The power of everything that had ever lived on this planet. And for the first time, he understood. It wasn't just a planet. It was alive, not just in the way we think of life, but alive in the deepest, most ancient way possible. Earth had learned to protect itself, to survive. It didn't care for pride. It didn't care for strength. It cared only for balance. Xirian slowly raised his hand again, this time in a gesture of peace. The guardians watched, their glowing eyes softening. "I understand," he whispered. "I will leave." The ground shifted one last time, the sand and earth moving beneath him. The stone giant that had loomed over him nodded, slowly, as if acknowledging his surrender. The sky above began to clear, the black clouds breaking apart. The earth had made its point. It had shown Xirian what true strength was, not through violence, but through endurance, through patience, through survival. The guardians turned and slowly began to move back into the desert, their bodies sinking into the earth. The sand settled, and the wind died down. Xirian looked up, his body still trembling. He knew his mission was over. But the true lesson had only just begun. Earth had no need for conquerors. It only needed to be left in peace. Xirian stood in the middle of the quiet desert, his body still weak, but his mind clearer than it had been in days. The stone guardians had gone, and the earth beneath his feet had settled once more into stillness. The sky had returned to its normal blue, and the distant hum of his mothership could be heard, though he knew it would not come for him. Not now. Not after everything that had happened. He looked down at his hands. The feeling was strange. There was no longer the cold, hard edge of his old power. The power of weapons, technology, and invincibility. That had all been stripped away, piece by piece, until there was nothing left but him and the planet. Earth had shown him that real strength wasn't about destroying or conquering. It was about survival, patience, and respect for the life that had come before and would come after. For the first time since his arrival, Xirian felt small. He wasn't just on a foreign world now. He was part of it. He could feel it deep within him, the pulse of life in the air, the weight of history beneath his feet. Earth wasn't just a planet. It was a living, breathing entity with a will that extended through every tree, every animal, every mountain. And it had decided that he was not meant to conquer it. The memories of the planet's past had faded, but they were still with him, lingering in his mind. The fires, the storms, the wars, but also the healing, the rebuilding, the quiet moments of growth and change. Earth had lived through it all, and it had always bounced back. He looked up toward the sky, toward the clouds that had now parted completely, leaving behind only a gentle breeze. He could see the faint shape of his mothership above, its engines ready, its crew still waiting for him to call them down. But Xirian knew that he had no place in that ship anymore. Not after everything he had learned. Not after seeing what Earth had done to him. The Earth had taught him the most important lesson of all. It didn't need him. It didn't need anyone. The thought hit him like a weight. He had come here to prove that Earth was weak. He had mocked its military, its people, its systems. And yet, it was Earth that had proved its strength. It had survived everything. Everything the universe had thrown at it. And had continued to live, to grow. No force could ever truly destroy it. And now, Xirian knew that he could never conquer Earth. It wasn't because he lacked the power. It was because Earth didn't need to be conquered. It wasn't some world that could be bent to anyone's will. It was alive, and it was far beyond his reach. He turned away from the desert, walking slowly toward the edge of the sand. His body still ached, but his mind was sharp now, clear of the arrogance that had clouded it for so long. He had come as an invader, and now he was leaving as a learner. The Earth had humbled him, not through force, but through its presence. Behind him, the mothership began to descend slowly, its engines cutting through the air. But Xirian didn't turn around. He didn't need to. His time here was done. As he reached the edge of the desert, the wind picked up again, brushing against his skin like a gentle hand. It felt like a final, quiet welcome. The land, the sky, the life. Everything seemed to be saying the same thing. It was enough. Xirian looked back one last time, seeing the desert stretched out behind him. The stone guardians had returned to the earth, their forms hidden beneath the sands, waiting for anyone who dared to challenge the planet's peace. But there was no longer any reason to fight. He had been shown the truth. Earth was not just a planet. It was a force, a living, breathing presence that demanded respect. He took a deep breath and turned toward the horizon, where the sun was just beginning to set, casting an orange glow over the world. The shadows of the desert stretched long and quiet, and Xirian felt a strange peace wash over him. He didn't need to conquer. He didn't need to rule. All he needed to do was leave, and he would. The mothership hovered overhead now, its engines ready to carry him back to the stars. Xirian stepped forward, knowing that he was leaving Earth behind, but also carrying a piece of it with him, a piece of its strength, its memory, its life. As the ship's doors opened, he paused, looking down at the planet one final time. Earth had taught him its lesson, and for the first time, he was ready to listen. He turned and walked into the ship. The doors closed behind him, and Earth, as it always had, continued to watch, waiting for the next visitor, waiting for the next lesson. This concludes the story. Xirian's journey ends with him humbled, having learned that Earth's true power comes not from destruction, but from its ability to survive and adapt. It's a powerful reminder that Earth, as a living entity, will always endure, and those who try to conquer it must ultimately understand it first. Let me know if you want any revisions or if you need help with anything else.